In this video, we're going to use the quotient rule to find the derivative of a quotient of functions. It says, let h of x equal f of x over g of x. And they say that f of x is equal to negative 2x squared minus 1. G of negative 3 is equal to negative 1. G prime of negative 3 is negative 4. And they want us to find h prime of negative 3. Let's first of all write down what h prime of x would be. Well, if I have f and g here, my quotient rule would be f prime of x, g of x, minus g prime of x, f of x, all divided by g of x squared. So then, really what I need to know is, I'm trying to find f prime of negative 3. So I'm going to plug negative 3 into each of these. So I get f prime of negative 3, g of negative 3, minus g prime of negative 3, f of negative 3, all over g of negative 3 squared. Well, I need to start figuring out what f prime of negative 3 is, and also what f of negative 3 is. I need those two pieces. Well, they tell us that f of x is equal to negative 2x squared minus 1. So I can say that f of negative 3 would be negative 2 times negative 3 squared minus 1, which that would be 9 times negative 2 is negative 18, minus 1 would be negative 19. Now, f prime of x is the derivative of this, which would be negative 4x. So f prime of negative 3 is actually going to be negative 4 times negative 3, which is 12. So now I can start filling in some information. I got f prime of negative 3 would equal f prime of negative 3. Sorry, that's h prime of negative 3 would equal f prime of negative 3, which is 12, times g of negative 3. Well, they say g of negative 3 is negative 1. And then that would be minus g prime of negative 3, which they said was negative 4. F of negative 3, which I found to be negative 19. All over g of negative 3, which they said was negative 1. So I have negative 1 squared on the bottom. So that'll give you negative 12. This will be 3 negatives being multiplied, so that's really just subtracting. And 4 times 19, that's going to be 76. So I have minus 76 over, that'd just be 1. So h prime of negative 3 is equal to, if I subtract those, that's a negative 88.